hold on. Starting. Yes. Why? Why you don't trash talk while you are clearly enjoying trolling people with video games?
um, I just never felt like it was me. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I mean, I don't know, man. Cause with my friends, I trash talk a lot. You know,
Yeah.
um, I'm from Vallejo, where your bestest friends say the worstest things about you, and that's what makes them your bestest friends. you know, so um, in fighting, I just never felt the need to. You know, like I feel like no matter what is said in beforehand, um, it the truth comes out in
Yeah.
the ring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, but if I must say, it is still with me a little bit because I don't do it. In my opinion, this is how I like to go about it and how I think of it. I don't do it with my words. I troll with my style.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a reason. There's a reason why I fight the way I fight. Um, and it's just because I love the game. I mean, knockouts feel great, you know what I mean? Stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, but I love the game, you know,
Yeah.
the the game of chess, the test of each other's IQ. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if I can fake them out, not necessarily fake as in, faint or whatever, but if I can like lead him one way, it and he fell right into my trap, you know what I mean, at the
Yeah.
moment, whatever, then that's the part that I get high off of, you
Yeah.
know. I troll as in I'm going here, I'm going here, I'm going here, psych, I'm going down here, you know,
Yeah.
uh, and just keep on playing with that. And then I'll keep going down, fake psych, back up, or fake left, go right, or condition him with my right kick, then I come with something from my left, you know. If I can make his eyes watch my legs when I'm coming with my hands, and vice versa, that's where my trolling comes in. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Um, I've been critiqued as in I'm not using my full potential when I throw certain strikes or this and that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just how it comes out for me.
Mm-hmm.
Your boxing coach is gonna tell you like if you lose a fight, your boxing coach and you have several different coaches, one for wrestling, one for boxing, one for whatever mindset, and you lose a fight, the boxing coach is gonna tell you, man, you see, you should have been boxing more. The
Yeah.
wrestling
Yeah.
coach is gonna tell you, oh man, you see, you should have been wrestling more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, and the mind, you shouldn't have got frustrated in there or something. Uh, and they'll all be right. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Because they know how to put it all together like that. Me, this is how I know how to put my stuff together. It may not be cannons, but man, like these things will hurt you.
Yeah.
Well, that I expect them to.
Do you do you sometimes look back on losses and be like, well, I'm not saying I wouldn't say disagree with the coaches, but like sometimes you have like a different perspective. Like I lost a I lost my second fight. That was a that was I started off well, but he was a kicker. He's Thai, and he had like a heavy kicking
Yeah,
game, and he shut down my jab. And in between rounds, I was like,
yeah,
fuck. He just shuts down my boxing. I'm fucked. And
yeah,
I was like, I need to adjust to this. And my corner goes like, use more boxing. And I was like, this doesn't work. Like he shuts it down
yeah,
every time I come. Well, I didn't fake enough. I made a lot of mistakes, and he exposed a hole in my game. And eventually, I
yeah,
started to find my rhythm. And after the
yeah,
fight, somebody came to me, and that it was like I was like kind of I lost and on decision, and the person goes like, you need to work harder, and I was like, I think this person just exposed some holes in my game that I need to fix. It's like
yeah,
working harder alone will never solve the problem.
yeah. No, I agree. I mean, with a little bit, yeah, a little bit of
Yeah,
work harder, but
yeah,
work smarter and just be more aware. A
mm,
lot of times people will watch a fight and judge it, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially fans, or oh, they need to do this, they need to do that. This is
Yeah.
what and they may be right, but at the same time, it takes a certain mindset to be able to do these things on demand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, Under pressure and all that. It's easy to look at something and say, oh, this is all that needs to be done. Yeah, on
Yeah.
paper, if we write everything down, this is what needs to be done.
Mm.
But at the same time, it's like there's so much that comes with it as a fighter that I feel like we need to process
Yeah.
before we even figure out what we need to do, you know.
Mm.
And then once we figure out what we need to do, we need to figure out how to work on it. You know what I mean? Efficiently, and
Yeah.
it's never ending, man.
Mm.
Uh, Even with a fight that stylistically this person should have won or this person should have won or on paper this and that, we can't really judge what's going on. If you ever watch a fight and someone who is phenomenal just isn't doing well in the
Yeah.
fight, and a lot of times people will ask, man, what's wrong with him? Why is he not like getting off? Why
Yeah.
is he
Yeah.
not doing his thing? You know what I mean? And it's like, man, we have no idea what the fighters go through leading up to the fight. We don't know
Yeah.
what injuries they're dealing with. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's a lot of people who fake injuries, but there's a lot of people who hide them as well.
Yeah.
Just so they can fight. I've done that a couple times, just because I need the paycheck from my family.
Mm.
Um, it's just uh, we can't really judge because we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's happening outside the camp. In
Yeah.
life that may be getting to their head. Um, and if we look at this concept on a bigger picture, on a bigger scale, it just applies to life as well. You can't look at someone and be like, man, why are they so hot-headed, or why are they, so distant from everyone, or why this, why that,
Yeah.
why? This is basically what they're saying is this is what they need to be perfect, you know. But how can we say that when we're still trying to figure it out on our own, you know? We never know what's going on with the next person.
Yeah. It's interesting that you mentioned that because like when you see somebody fight, you basically see like 15 minutes of a whole day. It's like
Yeah,
before my before my second fight, I had a lot of noise in my life, which I eventually cut out after the fight. I was like, okay, I need to change this, this, and this. And then
yeah,
I was like, oh man, I know I could have beaten this guy. Like I was like, give me a rematch. And everybody was like surprised, like already. I was like, I want that rematch. Which
yeah,
eventually
yeah,
he, I don't know if he didn't agree, but eventually I got another fighter, and I saw some tape on him, and I was like, okay, he's very good at the basics. He's gonna be a dangerous fighter. But I was like, I can take him out in the third. But I go into that fight with like the mindset of okay, in the first round I threw it on, and in the first 2 rounds I just figured out my stuff. Man,
yeah,
in the second round he kicked me, and I felt something. I went down to my corner, and like my shin was like blown up. It was like as big as my quad, and I was
dang,
like, oh. And then
yeah,
eventually I fought 5 rounds because I couldn't finish him anymore. I couldn't after the fight I couldn't even walk. And people were like, "Why
yeah,
didn't you finish him?" And I was like, "Well, I kind of fought on one leg. It's like, it's like people they judge quickly.
yeah, yeah. No, for real, I agree with
It's like sometimes I wonder why people do it.
that. Some For the most part, majority of the time, in my opinion, uh, like if we look past our ego, because the only reason why it frustrates us when people try to correct us is because of our ego. We're
Mm.
being questioned. You know what I mean? Like our perfection is being questioned. You know,
Yeah,
it gets to us. Once we look past that, and majority of times see their mannerisms as they're speaking, it's all it comes from the heart. You know, they're doing it with goodwill.
yeah,
A lot, and that's the thing, man. Like I feel like a lot of people, myself included, uh, we don't know how to communicate. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? As far as like, I want to let this person know I care, this and that, and it comes out wrong most of the time. You know what I mean? Um, like a lot of times we just don't know how to communicate. A lot of times the things that people say or people do are uh, they're doing it with good intentions, you know, but the way it comes out may seem offensive or this and that. Some people they just do it just to troll. You know what I mean? But if if we set our ego aside, whether they're doing it with love or doing it to troll, it doesn't affect us emotionally. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because
Yeah,
whenever
I think
someone
it's
tries to troll me, you say what?
I think it's sometimes hard to like distinguish if they have like good intentions or not, because sometimes they have good intentions, but it comes off so bad that you're like, what are you doing? You know?
Yeah, yeah. No, I feel it, man. And sometimes the best thing we can do for someone is nothing. You know,
Mm.
like uh, if I'm with my kids, right? Just say this for example, and I've been guilty of this. If I'm with my kids and they're trying to accomplish something or do something or this and that, and I'm smothering them, no, 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 you gotta do it like this. I'm trying to help you. You don't want my help? I'm just trying to help you. You know,
Mm.
maybe the best thing for me to do is just let her figure it out for a minute. If
Yeah,
she wants my help, she'll ask for my help.
yeah,
Or if he wants my help, he'll ask for my help. uh Sometimes, like with my wife, with some of the things, the best thing to do is get out the way. You know what I mean? There's a certain way that she likes things and she wants them done, and I just can't get it right. Like
mm.
folding. I fold sloppy compared to, she don't like it. So I don't fold clothes. Well, I'm trying, but it's just a lot of times we want people to know that we care, but
Yes.
we don't know how to express it. We
Mm.
feel like it has to, something has to be said. When really all it is just sometimes nothing needs to be said. Sometimes people just need a hug. You know
Yeah.
what I mean, or a handshake, or just a pat on the back, or whatever.
Mm. It's funny that you say that you can't fold.
Yeah,
It's like it's like I was just thinking about my parents. Like they have something similar going on, and
yeah,
sometimes my dad always tries. It's like with ironing, and he tries to iron, and then my mom gets mad, and it's like, you still can't do it, can you? And I'm like, oh, not again.
yeah. And man, that's marriage. I
Yeah,
feel like that's one of the keys is uh arguing, fussing, nitpicking at each other,
yeah,
uh, never losing that. Because in the beginning, uh, I know with my wife, especially with my wife, it was the worst. But when there was other girls that I liked growing up, or this and that, it's always the same. You guys make
mm,
fun of each other. You
yeah,
guys talk a little bit of smack to each other. You know what I mean?
mm,
It's playful. It's showing interest. You know what I mean? You ain't
mm,
gonna do nothing. You know what I mean? uh, but then there comes a point to where all that cute stuff, uh, like if you're with them long enough, I don't know when it happens, but there comes to a point to where that cute stuff, like we don't see it as cute no more. We see it as, man, why you always like on me? Just leave me alone. This and
yeah,
that. But then once we realize that, it's like, oh, this is why I was attracted to her.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
she always ruffled my feathers, stuff like that, and I always ruffled hers.
yeah. Do you think that's like, well, this is an assumption because, well, I've never been married, and I probably never have been with a girl as long as you have been with your wife. But do you think that's because of our like our society before COVID? Because like everything is rushed, for most people. Because it's like you said before, you have to go to work and you have to be on time. I think you in your last podcast you did. I think it's Eddie Knows Nothing. That was amazing, by the way. I really liked that one.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to have you back on. But you talked about work and how it's rushed and how you escape the
Yeah.
system. And it's like I was reflecting on that because technically I'm out of the system as well, and it's like,
Yeah.
but when I see other people, it's like everything is so rushed, and I have the feeling that if we would have like a less rushed society, I think relationships would benefit from that. Well, there's more to it, but
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. If they're willing to make it work, you know what I
yeah.
mean? Now that we can't do all these extracurricular activities, a lot of times like the activities that we do, and I feel I'm guilty of this as well. There's been times in life, whether it's now, whether it's before, uh, where certain activities I take upon to numb myself in a
Mm,
sense, to get away from this, to get away from that. You know what I mean? Um, Sometimes the activities that I take are good, beneficial. Sometimes they're not. You know what I mean? To get away from the noise, I'll be on my phone. I'll be on Instagram or something like that. Before when we all used to be able to be in public, um, there's times where I would just like say we're at Target or something. Target is a store out here. I don't know if you guys have that out there, but we'll be at the store in line or whatnot, and majority of people are like this, just
yeah.
because they 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 want to like seclude themselves from the
Mm,
people around them. You know what I
yeah.
mean? They have nothing to look at on their phone. Yet they do this to look busy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, I've done it as well. But there's been times where I've put my phone down and just sat there and watched. You know what I mean? And it's just like, uh, it's nuts.
It is.
It's freaking nuts.
Yeah, it's like I've, I've seen this firsthand. I think Chiang Mai was like the craziest that I've ever seen. In Chiang Mai, traffic is crazy. I've never seen traffic that crazy, And
Yeah,
as soon as so there were a lot of bikes and a lot of cars, but the bikes would always line up in front of the cars or in between. And like
yeah,
as soon as there was a red light, all the people on their bikes were like on their phone, and I was like,
yeah,
this is beyond insane. Like what are you
yeah,
doing? We as Westerners, we just didn't get it. And I mean, right now I'm more on my phone than usual, but I still don't get why you would pick out your phone for like a minute, 2 minutes. It's like
yeah.
it's like
But
insane.
I feel like now we're restricted from those extracurricular activities,
Yeah.
and at one point or another, whether it's some people are gonna get a little bit of it, some people are gonna get a lot of it, and everything in between. Um, um, I'm sorry, my son just broke my train of
Okay.
thought. Hold on.
Okay.
Uh, but we're gonna be forced to face some things
Mm.
during this time of isolation. You know what I mean?
Yes.
A lot of times we were self isolating ourselves in public with our phones. Now we're forced to be isolated. I mean, some people are gonna still be on their phones to get away from things, but eventually, like this gets tiring. You know,
Oh
eventually
yeah.
Netflix gets tiring. Eventually, video games. You're just gonna put them down. And then you're gonna get bored of doing these things that distract us, and then we're forced to face ourselves. We're forced to face some of the things that we didn't realize we were hiding from. I know I have.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's like I said before. Like the same for me. Like at one point, I think we all need a part of ourselves that we have to work on.
Yeah,
Because yeah, in the end, like nobody's perfect, and you have stuff from the past that you're probably not aware of that influences you right now. And it's like, as much as I hope, I really hope that this is like a period where most people, especially all of them, to be honest, like get better out of it. But what I'm seeing right now is like a lot of people are scared and miserable, and then you have these influencers who are like just making a lot of money off of it, and I'm like, oh, this is so sad. Like, I
yeah,
understand, I understand, like, I understand you want an income and stuff, but like using other people's misery to make money, I'm like, that's a dirty tactic.
man. That's That's the oldest trick in the book.
Yeah, it is. It
You
is.
know, it's like that. That's what everything is built off of. It's those. I don't know if you guys have it out there, but there's this uh, program called As Seen on TV, where it's just a whole bunch of like gadgets to make your it's like gadgets to make your life easier. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
They got like egg crackers, they got magic towels, they got this and you know what I mean? Yeah, it's nuts, man. But people
Okay.
buy into it. You
Uh
know,
huh.
that's the same thing that's happening. You know,
Yeah.
they're just taking things and making a profit off of it. You know,
Mm.
one thing that my friend, my coach, my training partner, uh, Darren, we were talking one time, and he said something that stuck with me. Um, the man who made the corn dog, you know what a corn dog is? It's
I know the name.
it's a hot dog with like uh dipped in like batter and then deep fried. You know what I mean? Stuff
Okay.
like it's some American stuff, man. But the man who created the corn dog isn't the man who got rich off the corn dog. You know what
Mm.
I mean?
Yeah.
Ideas are always getting stolen. They're always getting re-innovated. You know what I mean? People are making their own versions of whatever they see, or it's just like stuff like that. Yeah, it's a dirty game, but man, that's business. You know,
It is.
I've
It is.
I and that's why I feel like I've never could be that person. It's
Mm.
hard to be that person. First off, it's hard to be something you're not. So if that's not me, then I'm gonna fail at it.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's like, man, knowing that this isn't my original idea, but you know, but what's original these days?
Yeah. For
Everything
sure.
was inspired by something.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I did Q&A recently on my Instagram, and one of the questions was like, why isn't your blog more popular? And I never answered this question because I was like, if I answer this one, I'm gonna be in deep shit. But I thought about it and I was like, maybe I should answer it because at one point there were some people that I was gonna work together with,
Yeah,
and they have a lot of followers, but eventually they started to show me what they did, and I was like, the first thing that frustrated me was like your content and the price you ask for it, they don't align. It's like
yeah,
you should put way more work in your content and less on marketing because I just think you're overselling something. And I was like, but I was like, okay, I guess that's what most people do. But then when I saw how they would sell it, I was like, I was disgusted, and I was like, I can't do this. And my initial reaction was like, I'm gonna reflect on it. So I wrote a blog post about it, and they decided to publish it, and yeah, they were not happy with that because
dang,
in the end, it's like fighting, it's all politics. It's
yeah.
like who you know, and sometimes you
Oh
have to,
yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
or you have to
Uh,
kiss ass.
yeah. Nah, for sure, man. You have to kiss a lot of ass. But at the same time, it's like uh, you. I feel like there's a number of ways that we can go about it. One, you can kiss ass to get there fast.
Mm,
Um, two, you can just be you.
yeah,
And those people who that you would want to kiss their ass. You know what I mean? Top dogs
mm,
in business, whatever. Uh, you become someone of value. You
mm,
become someone that people want to know. You know, because those the top dogs, they're people like you and me. You know what I
mm,
mean? So if you're just like um, a person, when I say a personality that someone would want to know, I don't mean someone like who's loud, someone who's obnoxious, someone who's overconfident, someone who's this and that, because those we can tell energy don't lie. People can feel when it's when you're overselling your personality or not. You know what I mean?
Mm.
If someone feels that you're real, they'll mess with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, they may not give you as much as the person who kisses their ass, but uh, that's perfectly fine because I'm not giving nothing. I'm uh, I'm free in a
Yeah.
sense. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And because my value is more than just kissing ass, I can call that person at any time, you know, and they'll know that it's real.
Mm.
Because people know when you're calling for something. You know what
Oh
I
yeah.
mean? Even if you try to start it casual, like, "Hey man, how's the family? How you been? This and that." People can feel when something's coming. When like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
now we got all that out the way. Can I have? It's like, man, keep it real. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's it. All you need is their respect. You have the respect, you'll, you know, you'll benefit. It's a lot slower, but it's real. You know what I mean? Or you just be completely content with being an underdog. You know,
Mm.
it's like, man, if this is what I got to do to get there, I gotta do some grimy stuff, and I know I wouldn't be able to live with myself, uh, regardless of whatever that is. It's like I'm fine being an underdog. You know what I mean? You still get to do what you love. It's not about being popular. It's
Yeah.
about doing what makes you happy. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I always say that if you like to paint or whatever, cook, uh, whatever. It doesn't matter if you're doing it in front of people. It doesn't matter. It's not the amount of people that you do it in front of that make you successful. It's the
Yeah.
fact that you're doing it, uh, and it's making you happy. You know what I mean? It makes you happy. It takes you to a certain place
Mm.
that's not here. You know what I mean? It takes you somewhere mentally that that is just refreshing. You know, because no matter how many people are watching, there's always going to be someone with more people watching that, in comparison, will make you seem unpopular, or
Mm.
me unpopular. I don't care how much money the man next to me is making, as long as I'm taken care of, you know, as long as I'm taking care of mine. Uh, I'll clap for this guy, you know what I mean, right next to me, even if he's doing less, you know. Uh, I'm there's no. I'm not starving. I got a roof over my head. We got a roof over my kid's head. They're not starving. They have more than they can ask for, so I'm fine. It, if it comes down to me, um, I've been training in the backyard, and I still feel as successful as being in the gym. You know what I
Mm.
mean? If you're in the house and you're in the garage and you just got a all the walls are filled with paintings. You even got paintings stacked. You're successful. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Because you do what you love, not because there's a bunch of people around you applauding you. That's just feeding your ego or feeding
Mm.
our ego. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
tell me this right now. Uh, what would it be? What would make? Where's the line at where we would feel that, okay, I made it? You know what
Mm.
I mean?
Mm. Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah.
At what point? Is it when a certain person gives us a shout out? Is it when we get certain recognition from this and that, which all feeds the ego?
Yeah.
That's all it is. Is it that I'm getting the attention? Um, Even if someone that whoever you may think of that you collab with or that you get on a podcast with, or as how many podcasts you have or whatnot. Like after that, we still got to work. You know what
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean? After I won my WBC title, which was my lifelong goal, for a second it was like I did it. I'm I've reached my goal. I've reached my dreams. I'm successful. Uh, now what?
Yeah, I know what
You
you
know what
mean.
I mean? Then I realized it's just me doing what I love
Yeah,
because it wasn't really about the belt. The belt was uh, one of the driving forces, but it was really Muay Thai. You know what I mean? Just wanting to do it and just
yeah,
keep doing it no matter where I was.
yeah. I understand what you mean. I have the feeling that a lot of people in this period are gonna figure out that their needs are actually wants.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
I see like a lot of people who claim they wanted to fight, but they're like, I already know, you know when somebody wants to fight and when they like want to, it's like you see
Yeah.
it in certain ways. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of people right now are like kind of figuring that out
Hmm.
because now you will see who actually loves it. Like I'm loving this. Like I can work on. It's like I looked at my last fight. I was like, okay, I was injured, but what do I want to change? And I was like, okay, I want to be more aggressive. I want to use more elbows. I'm just working on that and head movement and like I'm just sometimes
Yeah.
training in my room and having so much fun, you know. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
and also it's like I I figured out that like I have everything I need, you know.
Yeah.
I'm happy with what I have, and some people don't understand because well, it's a bonus that I live on a tropical island right now, but it's like my room is freaking small. It's like
Yeah.
my room is very small, and it's like if I would have a girlfriend, I would probably have to move out because it's that small,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And it's like people don't understand. It's like why don't you? They're like, why don't you go to like a bigger house? And I was like, well, I can do that, but that's like 5 times the price of what I have now. And it's like I don't
Mhm.
need that much space for myself. Like I don't need a
Yeah.
house right now, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have the feeling that some people are gonna figure out now what they really need.
Hmm.
Just gonna
No,
sound
for sure. Yeah, it's people like say those people that tell us, oh, why don't you have a bigger house? Oh,
yeah.
why don't you open it? Because I get the same thing. Why don't you open up your own gym? Why don't you this and that? It's just like I don't know. These are things that I can do. Yeah, I'd be able to, but um, I mean, I know it wouldn't be a priority. You know, I know where my priorities are. If I'm honest with myself, I'm not trying to do the most. I'm trying to do the most with what I got. You know what I
Mm,
mean?
yeah.
Like, uh, and they're not wrong either. They're not
Mm,
wrong for thinking that way. If that's what they desire, then cool. If that's what makes you happy, cool. Yeah, that would be nice for me to have a bigger place. Yeah, it would be nice for me to have my own gym. But then, with everything comes a cost. You know what I mean? It's like some people complain, oh, I gotta go to work, this and that. We all have a choice. We may not want the circumstances that come with that choice, but we all have a choice.
yeah.
We can never say we
Yeah.
don't have a choice. If you complain about your job so much, then why you work there? Because it
Mm,
pays good. And I got a mortgage to pay for. I got this to pay for. I got that. I got a car. I got woo to woo. I got phone bill, all that stuff. Name it. The list goes on. And whatever extra luxuries that they uh wish to maintain. You know what I mean? Um, no, you don't need that stuff. You can quit. Yeah,
yeah.
you may be homeless for a bit. You know, yeah, you may live in an apartment, a smaller place, or this and that. You may have to ride a bike everywhere. If you quit this job and get a job that makes you happier for less.
Mm,
But at the same time, it's like you'll be happier. We don't need all this stuff. You know what I mean? Uh, The luxuries that we wish to maintain is why we get up and go to work in the morning. You know what I mean? To have the nice phone, to have the nice bed frame, to have this and that, to have the nice car, the nice paint job, the tints, like the list goes on. Uh, Truth is, like you have a choice. Don't complain because you can be without it. We choose not to. I'm not when I talk, I don't like to I try to fix myself because I'm guilty of a lot of these things as well. You know what I mean? I don't
Mm.
like to use the words you, I like to use we, But
Mm.
these are just some of the things that I've experienced. You know, I used to be into nice cars. Then I gave that up for to get my Prius, and like yeah, I'm not flashy no more and this and that, but I'm happy, you know.
Yeah.
But this is what I got to do. I'm happy because I get to do Muay Thai, I'm happy because I get to fight. This is what I love, not necessarily the cars or this and that. Um, it is, and this is my choice. I know people who live in the parking lot, and train. It's like that's how much they're dedicated. That's how much they love it. And it's
Mm.
not a lifestyle. That's a lifestyle a lot of people would be like, oh no, you know what I mean? That's not in the book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's not right. That's not common. But man, these people who are living their dreams, they sacrifice a lot.
Yeah. It's funny how people always want they go like, oh, I want what you have, and it's like, well, if you want what I have, you also have to pay the price that I had to pay, and then like, what do you have to
Yeah,
do to get where you are? And then I say everything I did, and I was like, well, this is what I had to do. Route might be different, and they're like, oh, it's like you
yeah,
have to pay a price for this, and it's like not overnight. It took me a long time to get here, but I also have the feeling that like a lot of people, they have like you always have options, and it's like
yeah,
option A is like what you're supposed to do, and then option B is what you want to do. And I have
yeah,
the feeling that, well, people will obviously want to choose what they want to do, but then it's like, oh, but I can't because I'm supposed to do the other thing.
yeah,
And if I do what I want to do, people will judge me and family, and it's like, so, man, when I left it, when I left Belgium for the second time, people judged me like way more than the first time. I was crazy, I was this, I
yeah,
was that. But now, after being here for 6 months or a little longer, people start to see like, wait, you're actually very happy. You're happier than in Belgium, you know.
yeah,
And they're starting to see what I'm working towards, and it's like it just takes time. But it's like if you're gonna listen to the opinions of others your whole life, you're not gonna do what you
yeah,
want.
yeah. Man, if we're worried about being judged, that's an ego problem. You know what I mean? If I set my ego aside, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks. And the truth is, uh, if I don't, get a good job, get my own house, what I mean, get married by this age, have kids by this age, be retired by this age or this and that, um, like people are gonna judge me, right? That
Yeah,
that's that's the path we're on. If I hit the lotto, I'm still gonna be judged.
yeah,
You know what I mean? No matter how successful I get, people are still gonna judge me.
mm,
They'll see me and their ego will start to speak. Oh, he thinks he's so cool just because he has a nice car, or he thinks he's so cool just because he has a lot of money, or you know what I mean? It's like we can't win. You know what
yeah,
I mean? No
yeah,
matter what we have, no matter how successful we think we may be, we just can't win. We can't make everyone happy because everyone has their own perspective of us. Everyone
mm,
has their own view of what we had to go through. Everyone has their own view and may speak as in, oh, he don't deserve that. They have no idea what I had to go through to maintain what I have. Thing is,
mm,
we don't get to choose when we pay our dues. It's not okay. I pay my dues. Now I'm good. Now I'm straight. I can live off the fat of the land. Nah. Uh, I'm still paying. I still got to pay my dues because life goes on. You know what I mean? Like I'm
mm,
living for today. I'm living for tomorrow. Uh, even though tomorrow may never come, um, I'm paying today's dues for tomorrow.
yeah. But I think that's like I call it like the honeypot society, where you always have these honeypots that are like spread out. It's like, oh, you want to follow your dreams, but you can also just have a job with a paycheck, and then you can party on Friday and Saturday. On Sunday you can recover, and then the best part is like you can follow your dreams and try to become a world champion or whatever, and work hard for 5 years, or you can just walk 5 minutes to your newspaper store and buy a lottery ticket, and maybe you get all that money. And it's like, and people are like, oh, I want that. It's because it's easy.
Yeah, yeah. The quick fix. That's what a lot of us
Yeah.
want. Even myself sometimes. You know.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess it's a human trait a little bit to like want things easy,
Yeah.
but I also have the feeling that's kind of like the downfall of a lot of things. It's like sometimes I look at relationships and I'm like, you guys could have fixed this. It's like, sure, you were at a point where you kind of hit low, but if you worked on it, you probably would have fixed this. And then you talk to these people later and they're like, I gave up too soon and I'm here.
Mm,
And I was like, well, you'll meet somebody else, but you should learn your lessons from this instead of repeating that same mistake. And it's like,
yeah.
I don't know. I sometimes I say like how you live in one aspect of your life is like how you like go and to all aspects of your life. It's like that's
Yeah.
why I try
Yeah.
to stay dedicated, disciplined, try to keep going when shit gets hard. It's like
Yeah. I
it's like
feel it, man. Y- uh, it discipline is key.
yeah,
In
yeah,
everything. And we're always learning. We're always growing. So no matter what happens to us, uh, that now, it having mercy on an individual, if they keep repeating the same mistake over and over and over, and they never learn from their lesson, right? And say they don't figure it out until they're like 35, uh, they're right on time. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
In the sense of everyone uh, blossoms on their own time.
yeah,
Like everyone, where whatever they're supposed to learn, whatever they learn, they're supposed to learn at that moment. Whatever life is trying to teach them, some people they learn it on the first try. Some people it takes some years.
mm,
But just because this person figured it out before this person doesn't necessarily mean that this person did it first. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Um, like if we just look at when things are supposed to happen, yeah, this person may have did it first, but this person did it right. You
yeah,
know, like the timing was just perfect,
mm,
or whatever.
yeah,
Um, if I okay, I need to get married by the time I'm 25, right? Say I've been told that my whole life. So I look for someone, I rush, I try to get married, I try to build relationships, I this and that, I keep failing. By the time I'm 35, say I've been through 3 marriages already, you know? Uh, since I was chasing, I overlooked,
yeah,
you know? While the person who didn't get married until they were 35 has a successful marriage, you know?
mm,
Everyone's timing is different.
yeah,
Uh, sometimes, like, there's been things that I've been told my whole childhood that I didn't figure out until like a couple years ago. Like, man, that's what that meant
yeah,
back then. You know what I mean? Uh, but hey, everything that happened, the good, the bad, the speed bumps, the detours, the the downhills, the uphills, the peaks, the valleys, everything led to what I have now, and I wouldn't trade what I have now for anything.
mm,
You know, um, with the mindset, with my the mercy that I try to show on people, because I want mercy showed on me, when I mess up. So it's just like whenever someone goes through something, Just wish them the best. Tell them I pray for them. You know, they'll figure it out when they're ready. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I like how you say like it's never too late, because it's like
Yeah.
um, whenever somebody says it's too late, I kind of have the feeling that they're like, oh, I figured something out, and instead of like going after it, I'm just gonna give up. You know, and it's
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, but you learned your lesson. And for some people, that may mean like they will never achieve their dreams. It's like if you figure out at 36 that you like fighting, well, you probably won't be champion, maybe, but you know, you're kind of at like an advanced stage for fighting. But if you figure other stuff out at 36, your life can be amazing. You
Yeah.
know, I think this
Oh
whole
yeah, for sure.
I think this whole age thing is highly overrated. When I
Yeah.
was
No,
when I turned
I agree.
when uh when I turned 21, I had my birthday party, and my father and my cousin, they came to me and they were like, "Enjoy your birthday, because after this it goes downhill." And I looked at them and I was like, "Already?" I was like, "What? At 21?" And and
Yeah.
now I'm 27 and I feel better than I felt at 21. It's pretty weird how people look at that number.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, it, it you know, our thoughts manifest energy, and it attracts certain, you know, positive, negative, this and that. If we think negative, we're gonna see negative. We're gonna attract
Mm-hmm.
negative. If we think positive, we're gonna see positive and attract
Mm-hmm.
positive. You know, and positive will keep you young. You know,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm sure that's probably something that they were told. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
And they probably believed it. So
Mm-hmm.
they went after 21 like, oh man, this, you know, like this sucks,
Yeah,
this and that, whatever, you know. And they're just it's just a cycle, you know, repeating itself subconsciously without even realizing it. The first step to anything is just being aware. It's like, okay, maybe for you, you know, I'll show you a different way. You know, I'm gonna be that exception. I always
yeah,
felt like I was the exception. You know, people would always question me for everything. It wasn't until a couple years ago that, you know, I was that I was it. Well, I've always the thing is I know I'm a champion before everyone else knows. You
mm-hmm.
know, but it wasn't until a couple years ago that I just really started getting recognition for this. You know
Uh-huh.
what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Which is
Yeah.
cool, but it's like I've been told and I've been reminded about my age. I'm 33 now,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's like watch me, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
watch
for
me.
sure.
It's like keep it coming. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Watch me. Tell me what I'm gonna do. Tell me what I'm gonna do next by telling me what I can't do. You know, because I'm gonna do that next.
yeah, yeah. I like that. Yeah, because a lot of people will judge you on your age, which is kind of, it's like I say, it's kind of weird. I have questions, but I also see that we reached 90 minutes. Can I keep going, or do you prefer we stop right
Yeah,
now?
yeah,
Because we can keep
it's
going.
good. Yeah,
Okay. Because you had a fight scheduled recently with Bellator for MMA. I was really looking forward
yeah,
to that, but if I'm right, it's canceled right now.
yeah.
How do you train right now? Like, how is your maybe daily routine like?
Just staying in shape.
Mm,
You know, uh, staying in shape. I there's things that I just try to. All I can do right now is visualize.
yeah.
You know, I it, I could just work on the things that I was working on before this quarantine started. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, a lot of the concepts, like I'm telling you, I just have so many great coaches at CSA
Mm-hmm.
that uh, they're able to break things down and simplify them, which is huge. It's just simplifying something. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be this fancy technique, this extravagant thing. It just has to be something basic, a solid basic at that, with the proper concepts and mindset. Everyone goes deep into their techniques, and they teach basic things, and from the basic blossoms, the fancy, the pretty stuff. So if I could just learn a basic and rep that basic and keep visualizing that basic, then by the time I get back, I'll still be that much closer. Apparently, there was a study done. They took a group of people and split them into two. They had one group shoot free throws for like a month. The other group, they were only allowed to visualize for a month. An hour a day, whatnot. By the time they came to be tested, the ones who just visualized shot just as many, just as many successful as the ones who practiced them physically. So
Mm.
right now, all I can do is really visualize. Other than along with being able to stay in shape, I got a heavy bag now. Like things are starting to slowly set up. I got weights. I got a heavy bag. Got a treadmill. I got a speed bag. I got my ladders, my tennis balls, my reflex balls. It's just I'm constantly doing something, and it's cool because uh like all those gadgets that I play with and this and that for coordination or whatnot. My kids, they dig them. You know, they're
Nice.
constantly messing with them, playing with them. So it's good. They're not always using it the right way, but they're still playing with it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Which will develop their coordination as well and this and that. And then now that I got bags in the back, they'll just go up to them and start hitting them. And that's all we really need is a spark. I don't fighters, but
Yeah. Yeah.
learning the trade, the concepts of it will benefit them in life, I believe, because martial arts has helped me out tremendously.
Mm. Now, your fight got canceled, which also means like as a fighter, it means no paycheck. Like, how did you deal with the initial news? Because it's probably frustrating to have a canceled fight.
Uh, yeah, it's very frustrating to have a canceled fight. As a matter of fact, um, because for a number of reasons, the uh, the time and the cost, it these are the things that you can't get back. You know what I
Mm.
mean? As a fighter, if you don't work a 9 to 5, even if you do work a 9 to 5, it costs more to go through to have a proper camp. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Uh, Sometimes just as much as your purse, maybe more,
Mm.
depending on how you go about it. As far as, I mean, unless you have sponsors, but even then, sometimes it can be uh, rough, you know, as far as like making sure you got meals, you're getting the proper food. Healthy food is more expensive. You know what I mean? Um, Making sure you're getting the right supplements. Recovery, um, things that like just help you sleep, feed your muscles, and uh, help your mind stay sharp. Stuff like that. Um, Making sure you're getting the proper vitamins and minerals and all these things, and all of that costs a pretty penny as well. Not to mention gas, toll, you know, uh, pads with certain people if you have to pay for them and stuff like that. It's just gear that breaks down on you, things that happen that you have to take care of outside of the
Mm.
camp, like a flat tire, oil change, I mean, just rent, all that stuff. Uh, it can be hectic, but just like a fight, um, from fighting to life, that they're both relevant. In the fight, I always have a plan, um, and I'm ready to make that adjustment at any time. He's constantly trying to adjust to me. I'm constantly trying to adjust to him. Uh, my plan never goes 100% the way I expect it to. There's always this, that, I got to make adjustments to deal with this. Uh, he's not doing what I expected him to do, so now I have to adjust my game plan, my rhythm, my movement, whatever, and be calm in the process. So when it happens in life, I know that the plans that I have never set out, never fall through the way I set out to do them. There's always some wrench in the system. You know what I mean? Something that I need to adjust, something that I need to fix. Uh, but I know my goal, and I know I'm going to get there. It's just adjustments. You know what I mean? When this hit and we were all isolated, okay, brainstorm. Like, if this is how the world is going to be, how am I going to make the adjustment? The fight game is always evolving. You know, uh, the things that fighters do now seem crazy compared to the things that fighters did 10 years ago. But there's things that fighters did 10 years ago that people can't even do now. But it's still the game is constantly evolving. Techniques are constantly getting better. People are getting stronger, faster. Finding better ways to train, to recover, this and that. So the athleticism is just getting crazy. Uh, just like in life, things are always evolving. You know, the way things were 10 years ago, they're not the same now. The way things were a couple months ago, aren't the way they are now.
Oh no, it's
Uh,
very different
Oh
right now.
no, it's very different right now.
yeah, but you either you you either say forget it, I'm gonna just sit back, and not be a part of it, or you do it. You know what I mean? There's earlier when we were talking about business, and you got to be, I'm not that person, I'm not a certain way, doesn't mean, and I don't agree with politics and this and that. That doesn't mean that I'm gonna stand on the corner and hold a sign saying, you know, F the system. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not involved in any of it. Forget the system. We don't get by like that. We learn how to play the game. You know what I mean? We're forced into this game. So we just got to learn how to play it. Now, we don't have to play it dirty, but we know how to play it. We know how to interact with certain people. We know how to rub elbows with certain people. You know what I mean? Still, all while still trying to remain genuine. You know, it's a tough thing to do, but we always have to change. We have to evolve. What worked for us yesterday may not work today. You know what I mean? So when things change, you got to change with it. Just go with the flow. When things start to change, it's like, okay, I made it this far in life, and things haven't always been the same. I know that I can adapt. I know that I can change with the times. It. I mean, if this was the way the world is gonna be like for a very long time, let's just say a decade, then what are we gonna do to adapt? What are we gonna do to adjust? We can't just throw in the towel.
Yeah. Talking about change,
Talking
your
about change,
your last fight
your
was a
last
line
fight
fight,
was line fight,
but now you signed with
now you
Bellator. Does
signed with
this
Bellator.
mean that you stopped fighting Muay Thai and gonna transition to MMA and potentially kickboxing in Bellator, or?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's the plan. You know, it sucks, man, because I love Muay Thai so much. There's something about Muay Thai that just, man, it drives me crazy. You know what I mean? It drives me crazy, like uh, when you're thinking about your crush. When you have a crush on someone, um, it's like as soon as they walk in the room, you see him, it's like, man, you know, uh, that feeling that you get. You know what I mean? It, that's how I feel about Muay Thai. You know? I love Muay Thai, man. I love it so much, but uh, I love movement as well. MMA is a different movement. I'm learning a different way to manipulate my body, as well as manipulate another person, you know, um, and just being able to move in different ways is so fascinating to me. And being able to put a little bit of my flavor into it, you know, with my striking and try to find the opportunities to do me, it's another riddle. You know what I mean? Everyone that we fight, they're just riddles that we need to figure out. And I feel like it's the same thing. The weapons may change, but the concepts are still the same. You know, of, of playing that mind game with someone when you're in the fight. I need to make him do what I want him to do with deception and frustration and all that stuff. It's just different weapons. That's it.
Hmm. So you will do the transition to kickboxing as well?
Yeah,
Oh, nice. That's gonna be interesting.
yeah, man. I love stand up, man. You know,
Yeah, same.
if we stand toe to toe, oh man, I love it. You know.
Yeah. The only sad thing that I have is like because I started out in MMA because MMA, well, it still is the main goal, but now being in Thailand and learning about the culture, like I love Muay Thai, like I love fighting Muay Thai, but I also have to be like, at one point I have to be smart and be like, well, there's no money in this, like,
Yeah,
and I, and I, it's like, I love the, it's, I think I love Muay Thai and with MMA, I also love movement, but I think it's more the idea that I love about MMA. You know what I mean? It's like you go into a cage, you have two people, and you have like you can have completely different skill sets. Like one can be the wrestler, the other one can be the striker. It's like
yeah,
I love the idea of it, you know. Especially the fact that the fight never stops. Well, it stops, but I mean, if you get knocked down and you're still awake, you keep going, and that's something. It's like the idea more than I think the sport. I don't know.
yeah,
It's an assumption because I never fought MMA so far. So
yeah. Well, I've never fought MMA either. This would have been my first one. It's just it's a fight. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
there's no for me it's the same. It's a different feeling because there's a cage and this and that, but it's like it's the same thing to me. To me, I just that's how I've been able to make my transition as well. Is because it's just the same. You know what I
Mm.
mean? The concepts, the resistance. You know, the game of resistance. You know, making them resist so you can go here. And it's all the same.
Mm.
Like I've never, I don't really have no. I can't really. I can only speak on it. Like my thoughts on it is limited because I haven't fought it.
Mm. Uh, did you grapple and wrestle before you had the idea of transitioning to MMA just to like play with it, or?
Yeah, I've always said uh, I've always been asked the question, am I going to make a transition to MMA?
Mm.
And I've never ruled it out. My answer has always been if my passion takes me that route, you know?
Mm.
Thing is, it's not what it's not necessarily, I have to make sure that my passion is there. Because if
Mm.
I'm just doing it just because everyone's hyping me up, do MMA, do MMA, you know what I mean, this and that, uh, I'm not gonna be good at it. I'll be a fluke. You know what I mean? Uh, I always had to make sure my passion was in was in it in order for me to succeed. So last year, I actually started, you know, hopping in here and there. Then it became a routine. Then it became to a point to where uh, it was mandatory, not by anyone else, but by me. You know, I started make it started becoming mandatory. I started getting frustrated whenever I I felt like I was going to be late to
Mm.
grappling class, or if I couldn't make it, or this and that. Um, so then the passion started to build. You know what I mean? I didn't go in there and say, all right, guys, I tell my team I'm planning on doing MMA. So I'm gonna start doing this. No, it was just like oh, Eddie, you in class? You about to do MMA? It's like, I don't know. We'll see if it goes there. You know what I mean? If I end up
Yeah.
falling in love with this, which I knew I would,
Hmm.
uh, but it's just making sure my passion was there before I did it, which is why I feel pretty confident in my fight. Because not only do I have some of the greatest coaches, I have some of the greatest training partners that I could ask for. You know,
Hmm.
who've been in the game, who are experienced in the game, and most of all, surprisingly, which gives me the most confidence, is that they have confidence in me. You know, the people of their stature telling me that I can do it and I can be great at it as well. It just drives me even more. You know, coming from people that I admire so
Hmm.
much.
Yeah. Talking about your coach, he seems like one of the nicest coaches in the game. Well, I don't know him. This is only based on what I've seen, but I've seen him on the Joe Rogan podcast. I heard things about him, and people are always very vocal about the fact that he's good for his fighters in comparison to other coaches. And I recently I saw a video of him for, I think it was a coaching clinic or something. I'm not sure what it was. It was like just a short clip, but he was like, somebody asked him like, if you have fighters, how many times do you have to train? And he was like, if they're professional, they have to do running this time, weights this much a week. And the first thing that popped up in my mind was like, how does Eddie do this? Because you have all your mandatory sessions, and I forgot how much they were. I think 16 sessions in a week or 14. Well, the number doesn't matter, but I was like, how do you how do you schedule your own work in? Because you like to work on yourself as well, but you also have like your mandatory group sessions. Like, how do
Yeah.
you figure that out for yourself and with your coach?
Well, my mandatory sessions are my base.
Mm-hmm.
They're mandatory. I have to
Yeah,
do those no matter what. I have to
yeah,
do
yeah.
those no matter how I feel. You know, coach is very good at like monitoring. Uh, like he, if you're obviously struggling, you know what I mean. Like if he sees during conditioning or something like that, or sparring or drilling that you're obviously overworking yourself, he'll tell you to sit out or whatnot.
Hmm.
Um, so he's real good at monitoring. He's real good at calling your bullshit as well. You know what I mean? So he's good on both ends. But I'm I got to do my mandatory, and then I don't stop. Like I said, I'm an hour away from my house, and I gotta cross a toll bridge. So
Hmm.
there's no point in going back home. Most of the time, I'll take a nap in the car, or I'll literally work out until I drop. You know, like drop where I stand, not collapse, but like to where I can't do it no more. I just lay down, take a little power nap, wake back up. Whether it's for mandatory class or for to get back to work. I always feel like since I'm away from home, away from my
Hmm.
wife, away from my kids, I can't bullshit. You know, I can't be there playing. Um, I have to make the sacrifice worth it. Now there's a video. I'll be there and I'm playing basketball with my teammates or this and that. That's all. That's all training. I'm moving. Sometimes I'll play basketball instead of go for a run. You know what I mean? Um, it's just substituting things. I'm there all day, so I gotta stay interested in what I'm doing. You know, passion is enough, but people do get burnt out. You know,
Oh, for sure.
and me being there all day, every day, uh, teaching, training, I gotta make it worth it. Um, I make it mandatory for myself. In between my mandatory training from coach, I gotta make sure I do my mandatory training. You know, I've always felt like because I used to I've taught classes like even when I first started when I became one of the elite in my first gym I would run classes. Uh, you can always see who's doing the work after class, before
Mm, mm,
class, you know, when people are hitting pads, shoot, when they're just shadow boxing, you know, to get warmed up. You can see who's doing the work. The work isn't done when coach is teaching us a technique, a strategy, you know, whatever. Um, that's when the work starts. You know what I mean?
mhm,
He's
mhm,
giving us the blueprint right there. When during class, when we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, we're given a blueprint. Now to just take that class and to feel like that's enough, you know, oh, I got it down. I got it. It's like, no, no. It's like, well, not for me at least. Some people can do it. A lot of people are naturally gifted. I'm not one of them. I always felt like I had to work harder than
mm,
everyone else.
mm,
So after I'm after class, I'm on the bag doing what we got taught, trying to figure out how to make it work with my rhythm. Not everything that coach shows me works for me. It may work for some of my training partners better than it works for me, you know, and
mm,
vice versa.
mm,
Some things work that he shows works better for me than I feel like I can implement better than some of my training partners. But that, you know, that's where we're all gifted, you know, and we can learn from each other. But it's upon me to take what was given and figure out how to use it with my style. You know,
yeah, yeah.
what works, what doesn't. Sometimes it works a little bit. Sometimes it'll spark a idea on something that I can do different. Who knows? But I'll never know unless I work on it after class. You know,
Mm, mm,
or even before class. I'm already shadowboxing. I'm not sitting around waiting for coach to tell me to get moving. You know what I mean? You, we shouldn't have to, like, coach doesn't have to tell me get to work. If anything, he's told me, Eddie, go home, get out the gym, more than
yeah,
he's told
yeah.
me get to work. You know, it's just my obsession for perfection. You
Mm,
know,
mm. Yeah, I asked because after my second fight, there was a well, so we don't really have a head coach here. It's like you basically, well, I switch between trainers because I just like to learn from everybody and I'm mixing things in my style. But there was one of the trainers. He came to me and I was like, look, I know what you did wrong. Now you train with me. That's how basically how it goes here. It's just the trainer pops up and he's like, okay, you train with me now. And I was like, okay. And
yeah,
the normal sessions here in Thailand, they're always the same. You know, just like you're skipping, you're shadow boxing, your pad work. And at one point, after pad work, he looks at me and he was like, "Look," he says, "this afternoon you don't come to class." And I was like, "Okay." And he was like, "This afternoon I want you to experiment with the bag and work on your own." And I was like, "Okay." And so eventually that became like a routine. So I would go to morning class, and in the afternoon I would do my conditioning and work on my own. And after a while, like all the trainers, some of them were looking like at me, like, "What the fuck is he doing?" And Song went like, "Just keep going, keep going." And then while my third fight was way better, you saw like a completely different style. And that's why I was asking, because like here you kind of have mandatory sessions, but at the same time they don't really care. It's like they want to see you run and they want to see you hit pads and a back, but they don't care
yeah,
about your style here. Well, I can imagine that in the States you probably have like 14 sessions that are mandatory.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, something like that.
something like that. Yeah, that's why I was like, how do you fit that in? Because that's way different
You
than.
just fit it in on your downtime.
Mm,
You know, it's like you don't have to be. I don't have to be told when to shadow box. You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
no one in the gym, but I mean, but coach is around. At this point, he trusts me. You know, I think I've earned his trust to know,
Mm,
so he knows that I can be in the gym by myself or this and that, or just unwatched. You know,
yeah.
if there's no one in the gym, then and this is like in between, uh, like right after noon. You know, there's a couple hours where it's empty. I'll train and this and that. It's like no one's using the bags. Like, why am I waiting around? I can go hit the bag right now. You
Mm,
know, um, and just play, just find something. Thing is, uh, nowadays, if it's not recorded, it didn't happen. So people don't really put the work in, you know. Uh, well, very rarely
Mm.
do I see uh, people hit the bag for. Now, I said rarely. I didn't say never, but people hit the bag or shadow boxing or working on something because they have to. I mean, because they genuinely want to perfect something. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Uh, a lot of it is for the gram, which is it's the times these days.
Yes.
Like I said, you gotta evolve, you gotta this and that, uh, and it's okay to do things for the gram or for social media or whatnot. But if I really want to know and want to learn about it, I don't have to be told. You know, uh, there's gonna be a time. There have been times, and this is one of them where I had a fallout. I mean, not this isn't one of them in compared to my my last gym. This is a time of isolation. That's what I'm
Mm.
trying to say. My my first gym, I had a fallout, and basically, I didn't have no trainer. I didn't have no training. I had a few training partners. My dad would hold pass for me, this and that, but I had to rely on myself. You know, there was no one to tell me what to do. There was I was just on a doing research for myself, trying to find out uh, what was the right information and what wasn't,
Mm.
and working on it myself. Uh, and then now here I am again. I'm sure like me and Coach, we check in on each other and this and that, but I don't have his eyes on me, So I have to be disciplined on my own. I have to rely on my own. I'm there. I can hit up Coach and be like, "Hey, Coach," and talk strategy and this and that. But again, it's very limited. So
Mm.
it's just being able to rely on yourself. There's gonna be times in life where we can only rely on ourselves, and
Mm.
that's no one's fault. There's gonna be times where we're let down, uh, and that's not a negative term. That's just a way of putting it. There's gonna be times where someone that said who may have told you, "I'll always be there for you." There's gonna be a time where they won't be able to be there for you, and it's
Mm.
not because they don't care. It's not because it's personal, but maybe their priorities, um, you know, like who knows what they're trying to maintain, you know. And just because I'm not a priority, uh, whether that be, you know, uh, from at that moment, maybe I may not be a priority at that moment, but
Mm.
that's okay, because their priorities are important to me as well. So let them take care of them. I'm gonna take care of me, this and that, uh, and that's just how I think about when it comes to we have to rely on ourselves. In the end, all we have is ourselves. You know, uh, no matter what, we're always gonna show up for ourselves. Um,
Mm.
so it's just like this is just one of those times, and I I've kind of always felt that way when I was in the gym. You know, when you're in the fight, yeah, I got coach in my ear. Yeah, I got my cornerman telling me, giving me the game plan and this and that. But I'm in there by myself.
Mm.
You know, like they're limited in what they can do. They can't fight the fight for me. So when I'm on the bag, I'm developing my fight. You know,
Mm. Do you think after after following with the first gym, you worked on your own? Do you think that kind of shaped your style?
uh, definitely, definitely
Mm.
because I mean you. The reason why I say definitely is because you can ask me um, that question about anything
Mm.
that happened in my life, positive or negative, and who I am today is because of things that I've experienced.
Mm.
Uh, but my style, it just like I said, it's probably because I like to just. I figured out there's things that I can do that I can't teach. Uh, there's some things that I can do that I can't explain, and they're just fun. There's some things that come natural. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's things that come natural to all of us
Mm,
that we can't explain, that we can't try to teach. We can just do it. You know,
mm,
um, and it's fun. So
yeah.
it's just like things that have happened, whether it was mentally or physically, uh, they all contributed to my style.
Mm. Where where do you think your mindset comes from? Because you have an interesting mindset when it comes to life. Like I really enjoy listening to it, but it's like, how did you like develop it? Like, where is it, like living life? Because a lot of people, they have like, they read all these self-development books, and what they say is nice, but kind of deep down, they read it, but they didn't live the life. Well, would you have more the feeling that what you say is what you actually live or still live by?
Um, what I say, I try to live by.
Mm,
You know, um, I can I can probably talk all day and explain uh, how we're supposed to be all calm and zen and not trip off this or that, or
mm,
how this will make sense with this. But ultimately, I'm still trying to figure it out like everyone else. You know,
yeah.
it's not enough to just know. We must apply. You
Mm,
know, and that which is the hardest part. I think Bruce Lee said that. Having the information isn't enough because we all know a lot of things, but it
mm,
doesn't matter what we know. You know, show me.
mm,
It's like you know how to do that. Show me how it's done. Show me how to do that. You know, if both of us were mute right now, like how would you prove your knowledge? You know,
mm,
so we all know a lot of miscellaneous things. You know that will make us sound sophisticated in one way or another. But it's more about show me, and we don't always get it right. I don't always get it right. You know,
yeah.
I fail more than I succeed, uh, which makes the success that much more sweeter because of all the times I failed.
Mm,
But as far as my mindset, I can't really pinpoint on where I get it from. You know what I mean? Uh, I can probably sit here and sell something and say, this is what you need to do in order to think like this, in order to gain this mindset. Here are
mm,
4 easy steps to, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Stuff like that. But the truth is, um, what got me here may not get the next person. Uh, say what got me to enlightenment um, may not get the next person to enlighten. You know what I mean? These are
Mm,
the things that shaped me. Now, uh, if you were to go through the same steps, you probably would never reach um, the level that you feel like you're trying to reach,
mm,
because the steps and lessons and things that I've went through were meant for me.
mm,
You know, your way of thinking, these steps and signs, you probably wouldn't have been able to read them properly. You know, and by searching, how you said some people, you know, they read books and you just hear them uh, repeating what they read. They're just they're programmed.
mm.
They may not live it or believe it or whatever. Um, I feel like uh, if
Oh, you fell away. No, I don't hear you right now. Mm. Maybe just pull it out. Oh, here
hear
we
me now.
go. Yeah, I can hear you.
Um, so as I was saying, um, sometimes, and it's happened to me at times, where I'm so obsessed with finding this ultimate uh state of, you know what I mean, state of mind, that I overlook, you know what I mean? I want to find it so bad that I'm overlooking what's right in front of me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think I need to look here. I need to listen to these motivational speeches. I need to read these books. I need to watch this documentary. I need to this and that. You know, I need to go through poverty in order to get uh,
Mm-hmm.
there, because uh, one of my mentors, that's the steps that they went through. They went through poverty. They went through this. They went through heartbreak. You know, they lost everything and all this other stuff. That may not be the way for me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's just me, my car breaking down in the middle of nowhere. You know, maybe that was the turning point. Turning point. Who knows? Everyone's different. Everyone gets information, and I mean receives information differently. You know, so um, if we genuinely want it in here, it'll show. But if we like just want it, just to say we have it, you know, it's not genuine,
Mm.
and people can feel
It's,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like,
Kind
I
of like,
think it was
I
Joe
think it was
Rogan
Joe Rogan
who said it,
who
and
said it.
he went like, being an adult is, oh, how did he say it again? It went something in the lines of like, being an adult is like pretending you know what's going on, but deep down you have no clue what you're doing. And I kind
Yeah,
of feel that way, you know. It's like if I just look back on what I come from and what changed my life, it's like I was I was depressed and suicidal, and I remember when I caught up onto it, and I was like, okay, I need to like take actions because otherwise, you know, it was like a losing game at that point. And I was like, I have nothing to lose, so I might as well try something new, you know.
hmm,
And after trial and error, I kind of started setting goals, and my goal was just I want to live a normal life. And back then, I didn't think about fighting. I didn't think about. And then recently, I was sitting here just watching a sunset, and I was like, how did I get here? You know, it's like if I look where I come from and where I am, it's like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. You know, it's well, it
yeah,
does. I put in the work, but at the same time, it doesn't.
yeah, yeah. No, that, and you see, like just something as simple as a sunset. You
Yeah,
know. Now, if that was your the key, the moment, the door to your enlightenment,
mm,
and people were to ask you like, "Hey, so what did you do?" I was watching the sunset one day, and this is what happened. Then
yeah,
everyone's gonna think, okay, the people who are following you, uh, and are trying to get to where you're at. Oh, so I'm just gonna sit outside and watch the sunset, you know,
yeah,
that's what's gonna happen. No, because they're sitting outside waiting for something to happen. You know,
yeah,
you don't wait for it to happen; it just happens, and it hits you
mm,
out of nowhere. You know, so
yeah,
that's and everything that led up to that moment uh, contributes. So it's hard to say how do you get a certain mindset or how do you this.
mm,
It, it's hard to explain.
yeah. Well, it's like for me, I can pinpoint some things. It's like if people ask, "How do you do it?" I was like, "Well, I just started changing my habits, and I just, you know, I started building momentum." And same thing with confidence. It's like, where does it come from? I'm like, well, beating a depression and suicidal tendencies, that's a huge boost. And after that, it was like I started facing obstacles and overcame them. And it's like it's momentum as well. But if you want a blueprint, it's like I can give you that. It's like I was I was lucky, you know. I was one of those lucky guys was this close to committing suicide, and then just somebody made a remark which hurt my ego, and that's what stopped me from doing it. I was
Yeah,
just lucky, and
yeah,
and
yeah,
and I would never advise people to go that far. You know, it's
yeah,
horrible. It's like if
yeah,
that's what I feel like a lot of like celebrities, and they're like, oh, I hit rock bottom, and after that, you know, I had this crazy life, and I was like, maybe you should. I mean, this is my opinion, but maybe you should advise people to try to change their life before they hit that rock bottom, because
yeah,
that's a scary place, you know.
yeah. Nah, for sure, man. And if I'm honest, uh, You know, I'd be lying if I said that um I've never fell into that state of mind as well,
Mm.
to where things just got so hard to where I just felt like just offing it. You know what I mean? Um, just turning off the lights. And and it's crazy because, in those states I started to think like, well, what if I don't die? What if, I just float into space, and like this vessel, just releases that energy. Like, where would it go? Would I still feel it? This and that, just
Yeah.
crazy stuff. But man, that's the crazy part of how you said maybe we should help people before they hit rock bottom, you know? Because sometimes rock bottom is where we find the courage. Rock
For
bottom is
sure.
where we find ourself, rock bottom is where we find our confidence and everything. A friend of mine um, told me, and I'm paraphrasing. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but he told me that he told his daughters that a pearl is buried deep um, within the ocean floor. Diamond is buried deep within the rocks. Uh, Anything worth value is is buried deep. So, he was just teaching her how to be a lady. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So make sure that you value yourself. Emotionally, physically, all that stuff. Um, and that sort of reminds me of what we're talking about right now. You know, we want we want to find these things. We're not going to find these treasures
Yeah.
uh, in shallow waters. You know what I mean? We have to hit rock bottom sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah.
If we're lucky, we can find these things, the confidence, the courage, self love, appreciation for ourselves and others, stuff like that. Only at at the bottom, you know what I mean, where it's dark, where we're forced to use them. You know,
Mm.
we don't need to use courage uh, in shallow water. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're like stuff like that. It's just not until we hit rock bottom that we find those treasures.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. It's just I started reflecting on it recently because I used to say like rock bottom was the best foundation for me, and it's like I wouldn't try to build my life on a crappy foundation. But
Yeah,
like yesterday or 2 days ago, I think 2 days ago, there was a tourist that committed suicide here on the island,
yeah,
and then I'm like, that's why I started thinking about it, and I was like, maybe rock bottom isn't, it's like because it's like you said, what works for me and what I got lucky might be the place where you are very unlucky, And like for
yeah.
him, it was the place where he got very unlucky and basically hanged himself. And I'm like,
Dang, that's
yeah,
crazy, man.
yeah,
Sometimes I think suicide is like uh it's just a bad decision. It's the wrong
yeah,
turn.
mm,
I'm sure there's been people out there that just that have went through that experience, that the experience that we can't come back from, committed suicide. Um, and they weren't even in rock bottom. It was just a moment of where they lost control. You know what
yeah,
I mean? And I'm sure there's probably people out there who have done that. Where if we could bring them back and ask them, would you make that same decision? They'll
mm,
probably be like, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. You know what I mean? It was just a moment of weakness. We all have them. It's just some bad decisions we can't come back from.
mm,
You know, stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. There was I think he was a financial advisor or something. I saw
Mhm.
that that's a long time ago, but he committed suicide because he played the stock market and he lost like a lot of money and he couldn't
Dang.
handle the idea of facing his kids and his wife and he took
Yeah.
his life and I was like, I mean
I was like, oh, that's kind of sad, because
Yeah.
in life, in general, you're gonna have, life in itself is random, and if you play the stock market, you basically sign up. It's a winning or losing game.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it can happen, and sometimes I have like the feeling that people are like a little bit delusional when it comes to life. It's like I'm gonna use my last fight as an example. I went into that fight with the idea of like I'm gonna knock him out in the third, and
Yeah.
then of course the injury happened and I couldn't finish him and I lost on decision and it was a crappy decision. And people afterwards were like, well, the day after I was a little bit grumpy, but I was still talking normal to people. But the day after I was fine. I was smiling, and people were like, why aren't you sad? And I was like, look, the loss sucks. It's like it's hard to deal with. The injury sucks even more. But in the end, like I signed up for this. Like if
Yeah.
you if if you agree to fight, it's like 100% of the people who step in there they want to win, but 50% of them will lose. It's like
Yeah.
it's just a huge numbers game, and the same goes for that injury. Like fighting is contact. It's like
Yeah.
if you go in there, you can get an injury. And it's like and
Yeah.
that's what happened. And we're like, oh, I didn't look at it like that. And it's like, no, you fight and you go into the ring with the idea that you're gonna win
Yeah.
and come out perfectly. And it's like that's not a good way to approach this whole game and life.
Yeah. Nah, for sure, man. And I mean, we risk just as much driving to our destination as we do in a fight. Anything could happen. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's not that we're at less risk when we're driving than when someone's in the ring. They're at they're at just as much risk, if not more. Depending on uh how they're driving, depending on their luck. Maybe they come across someone who's driving unsafe as well. You know what I mean? We never know. Anything could happen. Anything. I know if I'm gonna get hurt. I know. You know. Uh, Big rig drivers, people who drive big rigs.
Yeah.
The most common injury for them is torn rotator cuffs in their shoulders. You know what I mean? I know people who are in construction that are all banged up. Some of them got torn ACLs, fully blown knees. Just like uh, I know people who are getting hurt at who that work at Walmart. You know what I mean? When
Mm.
I used to work there, I used to see tons of injuries.
I can't hear you anymore. I think your plug is. Oh yeah,
How
you're
about
back.
now?
Yeah.
All right. Uh, I was thinking like, man, people are getting injured, from driving big rigs. When I was working at Walmart, I seen people get injured all the time,
Mm.
and I'm thinking to myself like, man, if injury is inevitable, I'm gonna get injured doing what I love. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. We're over 2 hours.
Oh shoot.
Yeah. It was very interesting, but I think your kids would love some attention as well. So
Yeah, for sure.
thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for taking the extra time. It was very interesting. I have two more questions before we go. The
Yeah.
first one is, what does it mean for you to be a man?
What does it mean for me to be a man?
Yeah.
Oh man. Uh as complicating as that is, it's just real simple. Um it's and I'm trying to put it, you know, uh figure out a way to put it. I could say a bunch of things like a bunch of cliche things like being honest, being honorable, being what I
Mm.
mean, being someone that someone can look up to, and just trying to live a a, a life, that's you know, without temptation or stuff like that. But really, it's just to be a man, and it just branches off into so much. A man to who? You know, a
Mm.
man to my daughter, a man to my son, a man to my wife, a man to my brother, my sister, my mother, my father, a man to my friends. Everyone has their own version of what a man should be. Um, but the one thing I feel like that they all have in common is being genuine. You know, if someone's an asshole, but they're a genuine asshole, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, uh, they're I love having them around.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't care, because I know that's how they really are.
Mm.
People just love being around real. You know, just whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, uh, it don't matter. The reason why people love dogs so much is because there's no lie. You
Mm.
know, you're their world. They look at you with full attention. They look at you, not just dogs, but any living creature. That you build a relationship with.
Mm.
Um, it's just being genuine, man. You know. Uh, Now, do you always have to express? Do I always have to express myself and say what I feel, or am I being fake? If I don't express myself, am I being fake? No. Um, I, I'm trying to figure it out just like everyone else. Sometimes I feel like it's the wrong time to express myself. Sometimes I feel like it's the right time. I'm not always right with my decision,
Mm.
um, but I can admit fault. You know, I'm just trying to love and be loved. You
Mm.
know, not at anyone's expense. Uh, I'm not trying to get to where I'm going with any malicious intent, whether it's building relationship with this person, whether it's, trying to land this deal or create or make it to this goal or whatnot. Um, I just want to do it with a genuine purpose, because that's when everything will come together, you know. Because if you're genuine, it's easy.
Yeah.
It's hard to play a character that we're truly not. You
Mm.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's exhausting. Eventually, the real us will come out because we're tired of playing that role. But
Yeah.
if we're just genuine, it's just like we can do that forever. You know?
Yeah. I think I'll ask this last time as well. I'm not sure, but always ask because it might change. Like for me, it changes from time to time. Like, what's the one life lesson that you want to share?
One life lesson that I want to share.
Yeah.
Um. Oh man, it's so hard to pinpoint. Um. And I'm sure what I say is just gonna sound cliche. You know. Uh. Do what makes you happy. Um. And have fun doing it. No matter what it is, have fun doing it. You know. Um. And I know this goes from fighting to life. There was a time in my life where I was, well, there was plenty of times, but there was one time that I came closer than most to giving up fighting. And in my while I was thinking of it in the process, I started reminiscing to the fights that I was having prior to that. And um, the one thing that I noticed was I regretted them because I didn't have fun. I overthought them. I was taking it too serious. Everything should be taken serious, but there gets a point to where it starts to break us down more than it builds us up. Um, I just wasn't having fun.
Mm.
So I made a vow that, okay, if if I give if I continue to fight, I'm always gonna have fun. I don't care. I'm gonna do it for fun. Yeah, of course I want to win. I want to be a champion. I want to be the best. I want to be the greatest. But
Mm.
I gotta make sure I'm having fun.
Mm.
You know. And that goes to life. Whatever I do, Tomorrow's not promised. I'm gonna make sure that I got my priorities straight. I'm gonna make sure I'm having fun, you know, and I'm gonna do what makes me happy, not do what I think is gonna lead to happiness. Do what makes me happy at that moment, you know. Again, those little
Mm,
disciplines, they just start to add up. You know, do one thing that makes me happy, have integrity while I do it, and um, do it without uh, trying to be malicious in any way. You
mm,
know, and so that just goes on, not just through fighting, but in anything that we try to accomplish. You know, with anywhere we're trying to go, do what makes you happy. That goes back to what I said about painting in the garage or doing, you know, it doesn't matter about the crowd. It, it matters about how you feel,
mm,
you know, because there's people who, I think Robin Williams said it. He said the worst thing, one of the worst feelings is being surrounded by uh, hundreds of people, but still feeling alone. You know what
mm.
I mean? It doesn't matter how many eyes are watching us. Uh, how do we feel? You know, do what makes you happy, and that could be the littlest thing. You know,
Yeah,
if you want to draw, doodle on an envelope. At that
yeah,
moment, if you want to be an artist, no matter how much that doodle, that drawing sucked, you're living your dream for that
yeah,
moment. You know what I mean? Because it's making you happy. It's not necessarily about how much you could sell it for or how many people like it. Did that make you happy at that moment? You know, then you're living your dream. Mhm.
yeah. I think that's something that more people should need to hear because, like, sometimes I have a feeling that people claim they prioritize happiness, but they they prioritize other things. You know, it's like if they prioritize, for example, money or things, or you know,
I feel like that's only because of everything that's fed to us
yeah,
consciously, subconsciously, you know, like even when we're driving, you know, the signs that we pass and this and that, you know,
mm,
they have a huge effect on us whether we realize it or not. There's things constantly telling you, money, 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 sex, sex, sex. You know,
yeah,
they use sex to sell. You know, sex sells.
oh for sure, yeah,
Put a pretty woman up there with cash. This could be you. You know, cruise ship, this and that, whatever, car. You know,
yeah,
we're constantly programmed. Instagram is nothing but highlights. You know, we
oh
tend to
yeah,
forget about that. No one's posting their lowlights. Um, it's like everything is about highlights,
yeah,
highlights, highlights, highlights. Not realizing that those highlights are a product of happiness. You don't get
mm,
happy from the highlights. You know.
mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny, and if you post a low that you don't get all the likes, it's like if you're genuine, you know, if you don't sell
Yeah.
it, it's like, uh, yeah. All
Yeah.
right, this was very interesting. Thank you so much, and
Yeah, man.
and
Had
I
a
don't
lot
know,
of
maybe
fun, bro.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. Maybe we do a third time in the future. Who knows?
I'm down, man. I'm down. All
Perfect. Thanks, man.
right, brother. Peace.